Good morning, grade 9. Once again, I am Ma'am Liza, your teacher in English 9. We are now in lesson 2 of quarter 1. I hope you will all listen to our discussion. For this week's objectives, we need to recognize the difference between phrase, fragments, and sentences, and utilize the correct sentence structure in expressing complete thought, and then identify the group of words, whether it is a phrase, fragment, or sentence. So we have here first our preliminary exercise. So you should identify the following group of words, whether it is a fragment or a sentence. The much awaited event in the country's history. Is this a fragment or a sentence? So this is a fragment. Next, democracy is the essence of all free men. Is a fragmentary sentence. So this one is a sentence. When she heard that she had won the Distinguished Service Award, a fragment or a sentence? So this one is a fragment. The longing in her eyes after so many years of misery, a fragment or a sentence? So this is a fragment. Mrs. Lopez, after listening to the inspiring speeches, stood up and congratulated the speakers. Fragment or sentence? So this one is a sentence. So when we say a sentence, once again, it is a group of words that has a subject and a predicate, and it expresses a complete thought or idea. A sentence can be defined simply as an independent, meaningful thought or unit, a complete unit of communication. It is linked in thoughts or ideas which build upon each other and are structurally related to constitute a paragraph. A sentence has two basal parts. Do you still remember subject and predicate? These two elements are the foundation stones of sentence building. So for example, the indigent women work at odd jobs. So we have here women as our subject, and then we have here work as our predicate. So when we say subject, it is what or whom the sentence is about, while predicate is a part of sentence that tells what the subject is doing or what the subject is. So here is our complete subject, and here is our complete predicate. We have the different kinds of sentences. So we have simple sentence, compound sentence, complex sentence, and then compound complex sentence. Remember that last time we discussed about the different fragments. So now we'll be focusing on the different kinds of sentences. The first one, simple sentence. It contains a subject and a predicate. The subject and predicate may be simple or compound in form. Example, Beowulf left his dying will to Wiglaf. Wiglaf hurriedly left and searched for the dragon's treasure. So here we have a simple subject, which is Beowulf. And we also have our simple predicate, which is dying or left his dying will to Wiglaf. Next, we have a simple subject, Wiglaf, and then we have a compound predicate, hurriedly left and searched for the dragon's treasure. Remember that it becomes compound if we are using coordinating conjunction. So we use here a coordinating conjunction and. Another example, the precious jewels, ancient silvers and gems are a fraction of their battle prize. Beowulf's followers and his son raised their sword and mourned for their fallen king. So we have here a compound subject. So it is compound because it is joined by a coordinating conjunction and. And we also have a simple predicate. On the next example, we have here a compound subject again. A compound subject that is joined because of the coordinating and we also have a compound predicate that is also joined by a coordinating conjunction and. When I say compound sentence, it is a kind of sentence that is composed of two independent clauses joined by coordinating conjunction. For example, the Geats built a monument for Beowulf, and they sealed his ashes behind the walls. Beowulf asked his men to build a strong, tall tower so sailors from far and wide can find it. So we have here an independent clause. Remember, an independent clause can stand alone. And we also have another independent clause, which is being joined by a coordinating conjunction and. So we have another coordinating conjunction. We have also here an independent clause and another independent clause which is being joined by a coordinating conjunction. So, remember when you are joining two sentences, two independent clauses rather, you should have a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Remember, fun boys. How about complex sentence or complex sentence? It is a kind of sentence that is composed of one independent clause and one dependent clause joined by a subordinating conjunction. When the ancient treasure was stolen by a thief, the fire-breathing dragon started to terrorize the Geats. Beowulf would still find and fight the dragon even though he is already an old man. So we have here a dependent clause. Remember, dependent clause cannot stand alone. And we have here an independent clause which can stand alone or have a complete idea. So joined together by a comma. So without subordinating conjunction, they use a comma. The subordinating conjunction here is on the initial part of the dependent clause. So, it is also joined by coordinating conjunction and a comma. Another one, we have here an independent clause and we have an dependent clause. So, we have a subordinating conjunction even. How about compound complex sentence? It is a kind of sentence that is composed of two independent clauses and one dependent clause. So for example, I watched the new adaptation of Beowulf that you liked, but I still prefer the classic version. Next, the class had plenty of insights about early Anglo-Saxon life because they read the Epic of Beowulf and they became even more interested after English literature. So we have here an independent clause, another independent clause. Then we have a dependent clause. We also have a coordinating conjunction. So we have two independent clauses and one dependent clause. And then on the next example, we have another independent clause here, and an independent clause, and then dependent clause. Remember that independent clauses are being joined by a coordinating conjunction and a subordinating conjunction for dependent clauses. So on the first example, we have here that as subordinating conjunction, and then because on the second example as subordinating conjunction as well. So I hope you understand our lesson for this week. Once again, we have 4 types of sentences. We have simple, we have compound, we have complex, and then compound complex. Simple sentence has a simple subject and predicate, or a compound subject, a simple predicate, or a simple subject, a compound predicate, or both simple, I mean compound subject and compound predicate. We have also compound sentence, which has a 2 independent clauses that is joined by a coordinating conjunction. So we also have complex sentence, which has an independent clause and a dependent clause, which is joined by a comma and a subordinating conjunction. And we also have a compound complex, which has a 2 independent clauses and 1 dependent clause, which is joined by subordinating and coordinating conjunction. So now let's practice. You should identify the sentence according to its structure. Number 1, the world of photography is wonderful to explore. What kind of sentence structure is this? It is a simple sentence. Next, digital photography is a form of capturing images in digitized form, stored as a computer file, and they are being processed for viewing, publishing, or printing. So this one is compound sentence because it uses a coordinating conjunction and. Next, until the arrival of digital imaging, the processing of images is done through exposure to light and use of chemicals. So this one is a complex sentence. So it uses a subordinating conjunction and a comma. Subordinating conjunction until. Next, digital photography is a word of our time. So this one is a simple sentence. Today, it is literally everywhere because most cell phones have built-in cameras. So this one is a complex sentence, be a independent and dependent clause being joined by a subordinating conjunction because. So always remember that fragment is the most common mistake of the most user of the English language. Some find it acceptable in everyday conversation. However, this is not acceptable in formal writing. So you should always be reminded about the different structures of sentences. For this week's activity, on your paper or on your album or portfolio, analyze each item whether it is simple, compound, complex, or compound complex sentence. Please copy and answer. So you can pause this video so you can copy the items. Thank you, grade 9.